Joining me now, Democratic Congressman Matt Cartwright, who's a member of the Oversight and Government Reform Committee. Welcome back. It's good to see you, sir. Thanks for joining me.
Nice to be back, Alex. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. I hope you are, too. But let's get to the issues at hand here. Speaker Boehner called this Senate bill unworkable. Does it have any chance of passing in the House?
Well, Alex, we're now a couple of weeks past the time when the ticker went over 2 million. Over 2 million Americans booted off of long-term unemployment compensation. And it's all because the House leadership, Mr. Boehner and the Republican leadership of the House refused to bring bills like the Senate bill up in the House of Representatives. I don't understand it, because I can tell you there are plenty of moderate Republicans who see the value in allowing these people to stay on long-term unemployment compensation. We have never, as a nation, in my lifetime, kicked off people from long-term unemployment compensation when the percentage of the long-term unemployed has been so high. It's something like 2.8, 2.9% are long-term unemployed. I think the highest it ever was when we kicked people off before was something like 1 or 1.5%. So it's practically double what it ever was. So the fact that House leadership won't bring it up is baffling to me when I think they have the Republican votes to pass it.
Well, it's also interesting to me, just on an emotional tenor, sir, because I was covering this story. It was happening right around Christmas Day. And I remember the sentiment at that time was, hang on, all of you who are affected by this. As soon as Congress gets back into session, we're going to get back on this and address it first thing right away. Well, okay, 3 months later, I mean, what happened? What happened? Why was that sentiment lost?
You're asking me to speculate what goes on in the hearts and minds of other people, Alex, but, it's kind of, at some point you have to draw them a picture that these are real harms, that are real consequences affecting real people. And what I've done to help kind of draw that picture, I've introduced a bill to enact a 6-month moratorium on mortgage foreclosures for people who were booted off of long-term unemployment, people who were already paid up on their mortgages before they got kicked off of long-term unemployment. But, it's one thing to lose your job, but to lose your house as well is catastrophic for an American family.
Oh, absolutely.
I can tell you I have 63 Democratic co-sponsors already on my bill, and we're coupling that with a letter to Mel Watt, the director of the Federal Housing Finance Agency, to ask him to do that administratively, grant a 6-month moratorium on mortgage foreclosure activity. You just finished a story about Las Vegas. My good friend Steve Horsford, the congressman from Las Vegas, America's foreclosure capital, is helping me push that bill and that letter. And I also should mention that Michelle Lujan Grisham, Congresswoman Lujan Grisham from New Mexico, also has a bill to outlaw what we call deficiency judgments in foreclosure actions. It's already the law in many states that you can't do that. In other words, foreclose on the house, sell the house at sheriff's sale, doesn't sell for enough, so there's still more money owed on the mortgage. Go after the homeowner for that deficiency. Her bill is to make that federal law that you can't do that in residential situations, and I've co-sponsored that as well.
It's great that you're trying to keep a roof over the heads of Americans who are being, perhaps unfairly saddled with a number of horrible things happening to their families. But let's also talk about this, switching gears. As the White House announced this week that more than 6 million people have now signed up for private insurance plans under Obamacare. As you know, Monday is the deadline. Are you satisfied with the turnout?
I think so far, as I've said all along, we have to be patient with this. It's a sea change in American health care, and a lot of different things going on. And I expect lots of speed bumps involved in this run, so that. It wasn't a huge surprise to see the glitches in the computer software last fall. But at the time, I was saying, relax, we're going to get through this. We did the same thing with Medicare Part D. There were glitches when we rolled out Medicare as a whole in the 60s. We'll get through this. So, are we doing better than expected, worse than expected? I think, that's fodder for the talking heads on TV. I guess I am one now, Alex, but I don't engage in that. I think it's going to be a good thing in the long term. There are going to be lots of problems, but let's work together and iron them out.
Okay. Well, our favorite talking head for the last 15 minutes or 5 minutes, how's that? Representative Matt Cartwright, thank you so much.